Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Rizqa Lestari. I'm from C class, and today in this occasion I would like to present about my paper, which the title is The Nature of Task-Based Learning, or TBL, and its implementation in the teaching of English for 8th grade students. Today I would like to present 3 points. The first point is chapter 1 introduction. It is describe about background of the problem and then statement of the problem. And for the second point is discussion. That is describe about theoretical foundation and step of discussion, and then for the last point is conclusion and suggestion. I will start from chapter 1 about the background of the problem. Okay, in social life, as we know that language as a tool for communication and a tool for thinking plays an important role for human being, because everything that is experienced, that is perceived, that is thought by someone, that can only be known by others if it has been expressed in language, either spoken or written. So, to be able to state the idea or the mind needed various language skills that can be obtained through language learning. As we know, English as the most international language used in the world has long been the subject that talked about at the school level until higher education. There are so many methods that can be used by the teacher in teaching of English, such as GTM, and then Suggestopedia, and then the Suggestopedia and others. But in this occasion, I would like to explain about the nature of the task-based learning, or TBL, and its implementation in the teaching of English. Well, for the statement of the problem, the statements are formulated as: what are the procedure for applying task-based learning, or TBL, in the teaching of English? Okay, that is about the chapter 1. Now we go to the chapter 2 about the theoretical foundation. In this part, I would like to explain about the definition of task-based learning, and then the advantages of task-based learning, the types of task-based learning, until how to apply the task-based learning. We start from the definition. Okay, task-based learning. What is that? According to Noonan, task is an activity or action which is carried out as the result of processing or understanding language. For example, drawing a map after listening to the tape recorder when listening class. According to this definition, assignments are defined in terms of what the learners will do in the classroom rather than the outside of the classroom. Assignment usually requires the teacher to determine what will be done to support the success of the task, and then the use of various tasks in language teaching so that the language teaching is more communicative. Furthermore, Noonan said that communicative tasks are part of students' activities in the class in understanding, in manipulating, producing, or interacting in the target language, especially focusing on meaning. So these tasks are carried out in language learning, which is more concerned with the meaning than language is a tool of communication. And then in the teaching and learning process that applies the task-based learning design, the teacher assigns tasks in the form of communication learning in the target language that are more concerned with meaning rather than the form of grammatical rules. These tasks are oriented towards the goals to be achieved, namely communicative goals. And in other words, the focus is more on understanding and conveying meaning, so that the tasks that are given can be carried successfully are characterized by the ability of the learners or the students to use the language learned to communicate naturally as in real life. Next, we go to the advantages of task-based learning. There are several advantages in its use. There are the first, being being able to create opportunities for the learners or for the students to communicate naturally in the classroom. And then the second advantage is more emphasis on meaning than linguistic form. And then the last advantage is more able to foster motivation to learn because it is centered on the students. Next, we go to the types of task-based learning. At least there are 6 types of task-based learning according to Willis. And then the first type is making lists or listing. It is the activity that useful to make a generalization to the discussion conducted by the learners or by the students in an effort to find out the answer to ideas that arise. The process of this activity includes 2 things. The first is brainstorming and the second, fact-finding. Brainstorming, in which learners or students share their knowledge or their experience with the friends or with groups. And then a fact finding, where learners find out something by asking questions and referring to books. The result of this activity will be done in the form of a thought map or idea. Next, the types of task-based learning is ordering and sorting. This task consists of 4 main processes. The first is sorting, the second is ranking, the third is categorizing, and the last classifying. Okay, sorting. Sorting or sequencing item is a logical or chronological sequence of events. And then the second is ranking. It is relating to individual values or specific criteria. And for categorizing, it is grouped according to their categories. It means grouping. And then classifying items in different ways. It is when the categorization is not applied. Next, we go to the third types, that is comparing. This type of tasks involve comparing the same information but from different sources or versions. This is intended to identify the same or different goals. This task includes three processes. The first process is matching, is done to identify specific things and relate them to one another. And then the second process is looking for similarities or finding similarities, and the last process is looking for differences or finding differences. Next, the fourth type is problem solving. Problem solving tasks demand knowledge of human intellect and the power of the mind. These problems are in the form of hypotheses, describing experiences, and then comparing alternative solutions to the problems. Completeness of tasks is often based on extracting the essence of problem solving or pulling of problem until solving case. Next, the fifth types is sharing personal experience. These tasks encourage the learner or the students to talk more freely about themselves experience and to share their experience to another. The result of this interaction are related to conservations about social life, but this type of task is difficult to do in the classroom. And then the last types is creative tasks. These tasks are often called as a project, and this type is involve the learners or the students on group on various types of more free creative tasks. These tasks also have more difficulty levels than other tasks, and these tasks can combinations uh, of several types of tasks. For example, listing, and then ordering and sorting, and then comparing and problem solving. Next, we go to the step of discussion. Okay, here are the steps for implementing the task-based learning or TBL in the teaching and learning process. There are 5 steps here. The first step is the teacher can determine the competencies to be developed and choose the appropriate type of task. And then the second step is teachers explain to the students or to the learners to the competency of the tasks that they will work. And then the third is the teacher explain and perform the drilling of the tasks. Drilling of the task language components such as vocabulary, phrase, and then sentence structure. And then the fourth step is the teacher gave the model of how the task was implemented. And then the last, teachers divided several groups as needed. Okay, there are two stages on the apply the task-based learning. The first stage is task stage. It is students in a group perform assignment and the teacher monitoring the process of implementing tasks in each group. And then each group report the result of the assignment. When the group present the result of the assignment, the teachers are advised to guide the class communications between students and then between teacher and students for the purpose of clarifying informations provided by the presenter. Next, and then when the task when the stage of tasks, the teacher need to guarantee that the students can complete assignment according to the ability and provide a time limits to encourage fluency to occur properly compared to accuracy. And then when students complete the tasks, the teacher must encourage the students to borrow and then search information related to the source so that it can encourage student participation in completing tasks, especially for low skill learner will can help answer that questions appear in uh, unexpectedly in the discussion process, so they can still be involved in the class activities. The success in completing tasks depends on how the teacher gives orientation specifically about responsibility of the learners and instructor uh, clearly, so students can take the maximum role in given task activities. Next, on the stage after the task. Okay, after the teacher give the task for the students or the learners, the teacher should first teacher give input on the students presentations, and then the teacher perform the reflections. Okay, next we go to the last chapter. Okay, that is about the conclusion and suggestion. I will give a little conclusion summary. Okay, well, task-based learning is a English learning method based on the task. And then assignment here are defined as work that is made in such a way by the teacher to be done by student, and in completing this assignment student must use language resources to communicate. And then TBL design emphasize on the learners to communicate through interaction in the target language, introduces authentic text into the classroom, and then the students focus not only on the language but the learning process itself. And TBL makes the learner's own personal experience more important, contributing factor to the classrooms. And for the suggestion, I think for the teacher and the students should be more active in the uh, activity of teaching and learning process, so that the result of task-based learning method can use to measure the achievement of student learning outcomes. And then teacher should carry out professional competence in the learning process, so the teacher can determine the accuracy of the type of method in the curriculum for assess the success and the failure of every students. Okay, I think that's all from me for my presentations today. Thank you very much for your attention. See you and bye.